You have never met this person in real life, not even once. They do not know your name, they do not know you exist, and yet somehow you feel closer to them than to some of your own relatives. You worry deeply when they seem sad on camera. You feel genuinely and deeply proud when they succeed. If they suddenly stopped posting tomorrow, a genuine part of you would likely feel real, lasting grief. This is not weakness at all, and it is far from unusual. It is a well-documented psychological phenomenon with a specific name, and it is quietly and steadily reshaping how an entire generation forms emotional bonds. Psychologists call it a parasocial relationship, a specific technical term first coined back in 1956 by two researchers named Donald Horton and Richard Wohl. They noticed something strange happening with early television audiences. Viewers were forming what felt like genuine personal relationships with people who had absolutely no idea they existed. Back then, it was talk show hosts and news anchors speaking directly into the camera. Today, it is streamers, YouTubers, podcasters, and influencers who talk to their audience every single day, sometimes for hours at a time. Here is why this matters so much right now, more than at any other point in human history. Your brain did not evolve for mass media. For nearly all of human history, if a face appeared in front of you regularly, spoke directly to you, remembered small details about your life, and showed emotion in your presence, that almost always meant one thing. This was someone you actually knew, someone in your close social circle, someone worth investing emotional energy into. Your nervous system simply cannot fully distinguish between a face on a screen speaking directly to camera and a face speaking to you in person. The same neural circuits that light up during real friendship, including regions tied to trust, familiarity, and social bonding, also activate when you regularly watch the same creator. This is amplified even further by modern platforms. Live streaming, in particular, creates an illusion of real-time reciprocity. When a streamer reads your comment out loud or replies to a message during a broadcast, your brain registers that as a genuine two-way social interaction, releasing small hits of dopamine and oxytocin, the same neurochemicals involved in real bonding between friends. Algorithms then reward this behavior by showing you more of that same creator, deepening the sense of familiarity with every single video, until watching them starts to feel less like entertainment and more like checking in with a close friend. Marketing researchers have also noticed that audiences who feel a strong parasocial bond with a creator are significantly more likely to trust product recommendations from that person, purchase items simply because that creator personally endorsed them, and defend the creator publicly during any online controversy, almost exactly the way a person might instinctively defend a close friend or family member. Researchers have found that parasocial relationships tend to intensify significantly during periods of loneliness, social isolation, or major life transitions such as moving to a new city, going through a difficult breakup, or starting a new and unfamiliar job far away from established friends. During extended lockdowns, several studies documented a sharp rise in parasocial attachment, especially among people living alone. For many, a familiar voice appearing on a screen at a predictable time each day became one of the only consistent forms of social contact available, filling an emotional gap that real relationships were temporarily unable to fill. It is important to understand that parasocial bonds are not inherently unhealthy. In moderate amounts, they can genuinely support well-being. They can reduce feelings of loneliness, provide comfort during difficult periods, and even model healthy behaviors and coping strategies that viewers go on to apply in their own actual lives. Many people report learning genuinely useful information, developing new interests, or feeling less alone specifically because of a creator they followed regularly and consistently over time. Some researchers even argue that parasocial relationships serve an important evolutionary practice function long before mass media existed, allowing early humans to mentally rehearse social scenarios, learn cultural norms, and observe emotional reaction from a safe psychological distance. A skill that modern audiences may still be unconsciously exercising every time they watch a creator navigate a difficult situation on camera. The risks tend to emerge when a parasocial relationship starts to replace real-world connection rather than simply supplementing it. Some individuals report prioritizing a live stream over spending time with real friends who are physically present. Others describe experiencing intense, disproportionate grief when a favorite creator quietly disappears, retires unexpectedly, or in rare and extreme cases, passes away. Because the relationship feels completely real on an emotional level, the resulting loss can trigger authentic grief responses in the brain, even though, from the other person's actual perspective, there was never a mutual relationship in the first place. Clinicians who study this phenomenon have noted that this particular type of grief is often disenfranchised, meaning the person experiencing it frequently feels unable to openly express their sadness, since friends and family may not take the loss seriously or may not understand why losing someone they never personally met could possibly hurt so much. There is also a documented psychological pattern called the Parasocial Breakup, first studied extensively in the context of long-running television shows ending, when a series audiences had followed for years finally concluded. Many viewers reported real symptoms strongly resembling those of losing an actual close friend, persistent sadness, a lingering sense of emptiness, and even mild anxiety about a familiar and comforting daily routine changing forever. The same exact pattern shows up today whenever a beloved streamer takes an extended break or a favorite podcast unexpectedly goes on permanent hiatus. Researchers have also identified something called celebrity worship syndrome, a more intense variation of parasocial attachment that exists on a measurable spectrum. On the mild end, people simply enjoy following news about a public figure they admire, discussing their work with friends, and feeling generally happy when that person succeeds. On the more intense end, individuals report intrusive thoughts about the celebrity throughout the day, elaborate fantasies about meeting them in person, and in the rarest and most extreme cases, a genuine belief that the celebrity would somehow recognize and reciprocate their feelings if they ever actually met. Studies using validated psychological scales have found that this more intense form correlates with higher levels of anxiety, lower self-esteem, and a reduced sense of personal identity separate from the admired figure. A newer and rapidly growing frontier of this research involves artificial intelligence companions and chatbots. Unlike a streamer or celebrity, an AI companion can respond instantly, remember personal details across conversations, and appear to be endlessly available and endlessly patient. Early research suggests this creates an even more powerful illusion of reciprocity than traditional parasocial media, because the interaction genuinely does flow in both directions, even though the entity on the other end has no actual feelings, memory in a human sense, or awareness of the relationship at all. Some users report forming attachments to these AI companions that rival or even exceed the intensity of their real human friendships, raising entirely new psychological questions that researchers are only just beginning to seriously study. So what actually determines whether a parasocial relationship stays healthy or slowly becomes a problem? Psychologists point to a few consistent, meaningful factors. First, whether the relationship supplements your existing real-world social life or gradually starts replacing it entirely. Second, whether you maintain a clear and realistic understanding that the connection genuinely is one-directional, no matter how personal or intimate it might feel in any given moment. Third, whether time spent engaging with that content still leaves you feeling energized and fulfilled, or instead consistently leaves you feeling drained, isolated, and empty once the video quietly ends. Understanding parasocial psychology is not really about judging anyone for caring about a creator they genuinely admire, respect, and enjoy watching regularly. It is about recognizing exactly why these bonds can feel so remarkably real, so that you can consciously make sure they're actually adding meaningful value to your life, rather than quietly and gradually substituting for the real human connection your brain still fundamentally needs to truly thrive. If this explains something about your own viewing habits or about someone close to you, hit like, Share it with a friend who spends hours watching their favorite creator, and subscribe for more real psychology explained clearly.